Thank you, Chairman Brown. I thank you for the opportunity to testify again today. Richard Belzer, President of Regulatory Checkbook, a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization whose mission includes the promotion of quality improvements in science, economics, and information quality. In August of 2011, I was asked by the Competitive Enterprise Institute to conduct a short study trying to explain why the ROC had become so intensely controversial. Regulatory Checkbook received an honorarium of $5,000 for a completed published paper. CEI put no substantive constraints on my work. Subsequently, Regulatory Checkbook supplied an additional $5,000 out of unrestricted resources. My research shows that the ROC is not a high-quality scientific work product, and there are two fundamental reasons why. This may be a little harder for you to see than I had anticipated. I apologize. When Congress wrote the ROC's authorizing legislation in 1978, it asked for a scientific compendium of substances carcinogenic to humans, but did not ask for this in scientific language, as you may or may not be able to quite read. The task was to list all substances which are either known to be carcinogens or may reasonably be anticipated to be carcinogens, and I'll get to the second item in a moment. But science does not know or reasonably anticipate things. Science cannot tell you whether a number is significant. These are not scientific words. They are the words of lawyers. Given the opportunity, therefore, the NTP has exchanged its white lab coat of science for something of a bureaucratic imperative of maximizing the number of substances listed. The NTP has achieved this by maximizing its flexibility to use or reject scientific information however it sees fit. Thus, while the NTP's listing determinations of scientific content, they are not scientific determinations. The NTP defines a known human carcinogen as follows, and there's a long, actual verbatim description of it. A lot of attention has been focused on this, footnote. I want to focus on something different. I want to focus on a comma midway through the first sentence. And the comma is important because in English grammar, everything that follows this comma is called a parenthetical element. It can be removed from the sentence without changing the sentence's meaning. Therefore, the NTP's definition for a known human carcinogen can be shown much more succinctly as follows, which is there is sufficient evidence of carcinogenicity from studies in humans. Everything else is subordinate to that. This definition is tautological and utterly opaque. It's tautological because it must be true. It goes without saying that for every substance defined as a known human carcinogen by the NTP, the evidence was at least sufficient in the judgment of the NTP. It is utterly opaque, however, because no one outside the NTP knows what makes evidence sufficient. Now, a similar story can be told regarding the definition of reasonably expected human carcinogen. The comma is located in the same place. Everything that follows the comma can be eliminated without altering the meaning of the criterion or the sentence. So we have sufficient evidence, we have limited evidence, we have, in one case, less than sufficient evidence. All these terms used by the NTP are legal terms. They're not scientific terms. So what the Congress seems to have asked for a scientific compendium, what the NTP appears to produce is legislative determinations. And it does this in a way that makes it look like it's scientific. Biology words are often used, for example. But the determinations themselves cannot be scientific because the definitions are themselves not scientific. Now, return with me for just a moment to an earlier slide. There is a second clause, double I, and it is part of the definition of what the statute requires for a substance to be listed, and that is that the substance has to meet the first test of being known or reasonably anticipated, It also has to be a substance to which a significant number of persons residing in the United States are exposed. That's in the law. The best of my knowledge in reading through the listing decisions, the NTP does not do this. It doesn't actually fulfill that second prong of the requirement for listing. There are ways of going about that. The NTP could define a significant number of persons residing in the United States. It could then define a de minimis cancer risk, and then it would have to go about a scientific task of estimating the number of persons exposed. Now, I don't believe that the NTP has done any of these three steps. The first two are strictly policy related. Science, again, can't speak to whether a number is significant, or it can't speak to what constitutes de minimis cancer risk. But science can help estimate, be used to estimate the number of persons exposed.
Dr. Belzer, if you could go ahead and wrap up quickly, sir.
I'm sorry, I apologize. What can be done, I provided in my written testimony a number of different reforms that the Congress could consider that would improve the scientific content of the rock and make it more useful for public policy purposes, for small businesses, for big business, for consumers, for anyone. The problem with the rock now is that it stands as a document that does not actually have the scientific content that Congress had intended 35 years ago when it wrote the law. Thank you very much.